Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the Chai Academy, where we sift through many different concepts of Judaism and beyond for that matter. And welcome to the Chai Center. The Chai Academy is as once again an assortment of many classes, and you can see all many hundreds of our classes that have been recorded live previously at thechaicenter.com/academy. So we have been discussing at great length. Thanks, Eileen. Doing well, thank you. So we have been discussing at great length Genesis, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and we discussed so many different things. Today's topic is still on chapter 3 of Genesis. I think this is our 10th or 11th class. And on chapter 3, so should give you an idea how deep the Torah is, how much there is to glean, to study, to learn from the Torah. Practical messages. It's not storybooks. Please never view the Torah as a storybook. View Jack and the Beanstalk, James and the Giant Peach as a storybook. Torah is not a storybook. So something fascinating I want to touch on today, and in chapter 3. So the Torah tells us that Adam and Eve were naked before the sin of eating from the forbidden fruit, or was it a sin? We've discussed that. And the Torah tells us that God clothed them. And it says that God took kosnas oir. He took clothes of oir. Oir means leather, skin, vayibesham, and he clothed them. So it was God who clothed Adam and Eve. So now the word or is with an ayin. Or means leather. But there was a great sage, Rabbi Meir, in his Torah, he took off the ayin for or and put in aleph for or. Remember, ayin and aleph have the same sound. So this kosnas or, it says God clothed them with the clothing of light. Now, so Rabbi Meir changed it from clothing of leather to clothing of light. So the first thing is, why would he do that? And what does clothing of light mean anyway? We know what clothing of leather is. Why would he do that? How could he do that? You don't just mess with the Torah, right? And what does clothing of light mean? So, and by the way, Rabbi Meir was one of the greatest rabbis that just ever lived. I mean, he's mentioned more times than sort of anybody else. His opinion is and he changed it from clothing of leather to clothing of light. So the difference between clothing of leather is the clothing of leather can be removed. Right? Just like you have a leather jacket, you can remove it. If you're into it, you can have a leather undershirt, leather pants, etc., 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 and you can remove them. Right? But light cannot be removed. So it's explained as follows: that when a person, what is clothing? What is clothing anyway? You can tell a lot from a person's clothing, right? You can tell if they're well dressed. You can tell. Excuse me, my collar is. Talk about clothing. You can tell a person's well dressed. You can tell if they're shlemazel or shlemiel, and a schlepper, right? You can tell a lot. And clothing, right? If you buy a Xenia suit, you know that this person's making money. And if you buy, an off-brand Stanley Blacker from another place, then Marshalls, then you know that it's a lot cheaper than another Xenia. So it's clothing is a status thing. Clothing of light is also a status thing. The difference between clothing of leather and clothing of light is that clothing of leather can be discarded and it's materialistic. Clothing of light is very different. Let me explain it this way. Clothing of leather symbolizes external success. When a person has success, clothing of leather. Right? Clothing of light is an internal success, internal accomplishments. Right? And so what Rabbi Meir sought to teach us, instead of being focused on your external success, what's your house look like? What car do you drive? What clothing do you wear? Do you have a cashmere coat? Do you have a driver? Do you have a limousine? Do you have the next, the cell phone, an Apple 13? Do you have, etc., etc.? It's rather, how is my light going? What does it mean, light? A light is, we all know that God created all of us. Every single human being was created to be an ambassador of light. That's our job. Our job is to spread light. Right? And therefore, our clothing of light symbolizes way more deeper things than that. It's not talking about clothing. It's how are you spiritually? How's your family? How are your kids? How's your community? How are they doing? How are they doing? Physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, emotionally, right? That's what that is. It's more of on a soul level. It's not just focused on nonsense. And some people, by the way, feel it's not nonsense. I know a guy who drives the nicest cars, and it's very important to him. It's a status thing. But what's really important is your status. Your status as a father, as a parent, your status as a human being, way more than what a status of what car you drive. I'd much rather drive a cheaper car and be a better person than drive a more expensive car and be a fink. So that's what a person has to analyze. And that's what Rabbi Meir was trying to teach us. What type of clothing do you wear? The leather, external, or internal, light, right? And I heard this once from Esther Jungreis, Rebbetzin Jungreis. I once heard her speak. And, I don't know if you know her. She was the founder of Hineni. And just, an incredible, powerful woman. She was a great orator. And it was at a dinner for Hineni. I don't know what Hineni is without her now that she passed. But so she was talking, and she was talking at her dinner, a fundraising dinner. And she said, if you were to come back into your life again after passing, what would you do? What would you do, right? You come back. God says to you, you have an hour and a half. I'm going to let you come back to planet Earth. What would you do? And the way she said it, would you go to your stockbroker? Would you go to City Field? Would you go to your favorite restaurant? Or would you go and see your family, your loved ones? What would you do? The answer is obvious. The answer is forget the restaurant, forget the baseball game, forget the stockbroker, right? You realize what that is all about, and you would go and run to your family. And your last words, because God gave you another opportunity, your last words would be, I love you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what you would be. So what she was saying, in my opinion, is that going to a baseball game, going to a stockbroker, going to your favorite restaurant, that's kosnas ur, the leather clothing. Going to your family, going to your loved ones, going to what's important is kosnas ur, light. Light. Remember, they sound alike. Ur and ur. One's leather and one's light. One's material, corporeal, and the other one is spiritual. And and that's it. I love you is ur, light. Right? Oh, this veal marsala, that's leather. That's exterior stuff. Right? Now, here's the interesting thing. Rabbi Meir, the one who changed his Torah from Or to Or, from an Ayin to an Aleph, he had two masters. He had two teachers, two mentors. One of them was Rabbi Akiva. And the other one was Rabbi Elisha ben Avua. So who was Rabbi Akiva? I'm sure you've heard of Rabbi Akiva. If not, you can research him. There's endless amounts of Googling Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, he was illiterate. And he learned, he didn't know any Torah, he didn't know how to read at all. He was a poor shepherd's boy. At the age of 40 years old, he went to kindergarten to learn alphabet. And he became one of the greatest rabbis that ever lived. He had 24,000 students at his peak. His words resonate with us until today. Rabbi Akiva says, you should love your fellow man as yourself. This is the general principle of the Torah. Rabbi Akiva, famous rabbi. And he was executed on Yom Kippur. He was executed in Caesarea, in the I think it's called the Hippodrome there. And you can still, there's remnants still there. And it was on Yom Kippur. And they took iron combs to his body and they killed him on Yom Kippur. His last words were Shema Yisrael. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Rabbi Akiva is in the Talmud mentioned thousands of times. Rabbi Akiva is a revered man. Revered. Right? Did he live an opulent life? Not really. He definitely didn't die an opulent life. He died in the Hippodrome in front of thousands lying naked as they killed him. Right? However, Google Rabbi Akiva. Right? Go to any yeshiva student and ask him who Rabbi Akiva is, and they'll tell you. Rabbi Akiva, he was this incredible person. Rabbi Akiva taught us how to live. Rabbi Akiva taught us how to laugh. Rabbi Akiva taught us how to appreciate. There's many stories of Rabbi Akiva. He lived an Ur life. He lived a light life. Kosnas Ur. Even though he died without clothes, he still had these clothing of dignity, clothing of light. Who was Rabbi Elisha ben Avoy? Once again, he was another mentor of Rabbi Meir. A very incredible Talmudic student. However, he became a heretic. He became a non-believer. And in the Talmud, they don't even refer to his name anymore. They call him Acher, the other one. Acher, the other guy. Rabbi Meir had two mentors, Rabbi Akiva and Elisha ben Avua. Ask any kid who Elisha ben Avua is, they'll say, who? Rabbi Elisha ben Avua, Acher, he actually was a tattletale to the Romans. He sided with the Romans when they destroyed the temple, right? When they killed Rabbi Akiva. So he was, and he lived an extremely opulent life. The best wine, the best women, the best food, the best lifestyle you could have, you know, laying down with grapes, as you think of any Roman aristocrat. Google him. There's probably one Wikipedia on him. That's it. Who was he? Fancy his clothes. But nobody knows. Nobody knows, right? Who you know, it's just, you know. But he lived a much more opulent life. He lived an incredible life in this world. Nicest horses, nicest cart, nicest home. That's not what it's all about. So Rabbi Meir said when he wrote the Torah, when he took out the ayin, or for leather, and he put in aleph for light, he said, don't lead a strictly materialistic, corporeal and just a mundane life. Live a life of light. Live a life of spirituality, of priorities. What are your priorities? Your family, your community, your God. What should not be your priorities? Does my is my car the latest? Does it have all these gadgets? That's right. And by the way, just thinking about it now, there was there's an incredible story. So this happened in a concentration camp. In the concentration camp, the Nazi guard, somebody there, they were always torturing the Jews. In addition to physical torture, it was mental torture. They said, Jews, today's Yom Kippur, sing a song. Sing a song. Nobody wanted to sing. Sing a song. Right? So they started to sing. It didn't really catch, and whatever the words were oh, we've lived. It's been such a hard time. It's such a hard place, and we've lived. And nobody caught on. But the somebody stood up there, and instead of saying we've lived, he started to sing Mivelen Ibeleben. We will live. We will get through this. And all of a sudden, there was this burst of energy from the Jews in the camp. And instead of saying we've lived a tragic life, they said Mivelen Ibeleben. We will live and we will get through this. And the Nazis could not shut up the Jews. Because one way is just looking at life as, we've lived. The other way is hope, enthusiasm. Can you imagine they have enthusiasm? It's amazing. So that's Or. Even in the darkest place, Or. First of all, where do you need Or? Where do you need light? You need light in the darkest place. So in Auschwitz, they found the Or. In Auschwitz, they found the light. And the former chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Yisrael Me'elau, I heard him tell this story. He says that he went to his mother, his whole family died in the camp. His brother Naphtali saved him because his brother Naphtali hid him in a knapsack. He was a little kid. When the Holocaust was over, he was 8. And so that's when it was over, right? He was a little kid. He was in camp for years. And so anyway, he lived in Israel before he became the chief rabbi. He had young kids. And he went to Auschwitz or Treblinka, I forget which one it was. And he goes there, and he took his kids to the crematorium, to where the ovens are. And he took it and he said, Mama, Tata, Mommy, Daddy, you obviously not been buried anywhere. So this is the closest to a grave I could find. I brought with me my 2 kids. One of them is the current chief rabbi now. When he was a young kid, I brought with you my 2 kids. I didn't come here to say Kaddish. That's not why I'm here, Mama. I'm here to tell you that we have hope. These little two boy chicks live in Israel. They go to yeshiva every day. They study, they learn, they daven, they help in the house. They have a mother and a father, and they're going to grow up to be incredible people. Right? So not all is lost, not all is forlorn. There is so much light in our lives. It's hard to remember the darkness. And I said, I promise you, Mama, these kids will shed much light to the world. What he was doing is he was clothing his children in kosnas oir. He was clothing his children in clothing of light. And he stood there and he put his arms around his kid and said, Mama, Tata, be proud of him. That is kosnas oir. To be able, the light of clothing, to be able to get up, brush yourself off, and continue, and not only continue, but thrive. We all have hardships. To be able to continue is because we were given by God the gift of kosnas oir, light, clothing of light, and even in dark times, we have to let the light shine. You know, they tell the story of a Rabbi Halberstam, a Klausenberger Rebbe, I think. The Klausenberger Rebbe. He was also in the camp. These are camp stories, I'm sorry. He was also in the camp, and he was in the camp. A Nazi officer came up to him and said, so, you're a Rebbe, huh? You're a leader of all these people. And he says, you just come from backbreaking work. Are you the chosen people? So he goes, yeah, of course we're the chosen people. So the guy takes his rifle and smashes it, and he brings the Rebbe to his knees on the floor. And he says, tell me again, are you the chosen people? He goes, of course. So he puts a boot in his stomach, kicks him in the Jewish belly. He says, are you really the chosen people? And he said, yes. And he gives him a kick. He gives him a shtois. Gives him a kick. And the Nazi official said, angrily, how in heaven's name, how are you the chosen people? So he looked at the Nazi. Remember, he had blood on his face. He was in pain. And goes, as long as we're not doing the kicking, the beating, the mauling, the killing, right, the murdering, as long as we're not doing that, we're the chosen people. And that's the whole crux of this lesson, is that we must never resort. You want to have light? You want to really wear clothing of light? You always have to step up and do the right thing. Take the moral choice. Wear your clothes of light, and never let the clothes of leather and any other fancy stuff corrupt your morality, right? Never let yourself be distance from who you are because of materialism. Don't get bribed. Don't get swayed. Always wear your kosnas oir. Always wear your clothing of light brightly and let it shine. And more importantly, let it shine. Let your kids see you shine. Let your kids see you step up from being a simple human to an incredible human. From being just a regular guy to an incredible guy. Wear your kosnas oir. Wear your light, clothing of light. Any questions? God bless. You can see shortly you'll be able to review this class either on Facebook or you'll be able to see it on the Chai Academy. Now, if you do have any questions, once this is no longer live, you may send a question to rabbi@thechaicenter.com. If you enjoyed this little thought, then please share it. Share it with someone else so they can learn some wisdom as well. Wisdom's not mine. I glean it from the sources. Be well.